During World War II, Virginia Hall worked with the British Special Operations Executive and the American Office of Strategic Services as a spy in France. Hall crossed a frontier as she convinced government agencies to allow women to work undercover during and after World War II. In wars before World War I, women were prohibited from working in the military and in espionage. During World War I, women were allowed to enlist in the armed forces for the first time, although in minor roles. All female military units were demobilized after World War I ended.
Women have always helped at times of war, but this is the first time that they are formal members of the armed services. And this is an important step forward.
Hall changed all this through her groundbreaking work during World War II. Virginia Hall was born on April 6, 1906, to Barbara and Edwin Hall in Baltimore, Maryland. Hall was very athletic, competitive, and strong-willed. If there was a tree, she'd climb it. A horse, she'd ride it. A duck, she'd shoot it.
She did things like wear a small garden stake around her wrist as a bracelet and wore it to school. And she always took the swashbuckling nail rolls in the play.
Hall studied at many well-respected schools, including Radcliffe, Barnard College, the American University, the Free School of Political Sciences, and the Consular Academy. After she'd completed her studies, Hall applied to become a diplomat with the Foreign Service, but she was rejected because of her gender. Instead, Hall worked as a clerk for the U.S. consul in Turkey. While here, Hall was hunting birds and she accidentally shot herself in the foot. Her leg became infected and she developed gangrene. On Christmas Day, her leg was amputated to stop the spread of infection. She was given a wooden prosthetic leg that she named Cuthbert. In 1934, after she'd adjusted to life with Cuthbert, she moved to work at the U.S. consul in Venice, Italy. In September of 1939, Germany invaded Poland and the war officially began. Wanting to help with the war effort directly, Hall left the U.S. Foreign Service to work with the French Army. She would drive an ambulance and pick up wounded soldiers, often under Nazi gunfire. After France was overrun by Nazi Germany, Hall decided to continue serving with the British war effort in London. During her travels to London, Hall was spotted by a British undercover agent named George Bellows at a Spanish train station. Bellows connected Hall with a high-ranking official in the Special Operations Executive. The Special Operations Executive, or SOE, was a program founded by Winston Churchill, made to set Europe ablaze. High-ranking SOE officials were not keen on hiring women, especially for the task of infiltrating Nazi-occupied France. An intelligence officer said, "My experiences with women in intelligence have been neither good nor inspiring. Women are impatient. They withstand hardships poorly." But after 6 months of failed attempts of infiltration by men, the SOE was desperate. Hall volunteered to infiltrate France, where her chances of survival were slim. Her cover was an American journalist for the New York Post. She could ask all kinds of people questions about daily life for the supposed purpose of writing her articles. Hall's reports contained coded information about what was happening in France. The Nazis eventually realized it was an agent near Lyon with incredible power. They called her the Limping Lady, and she was placed on the top of the Gestapo's most wanted list. Klaus Barbie, a high-ranking Nazi officer that sent an estimated 14,000 to their deaths, made it his personal goal to track Hall down. He said, "I would do anything to get my hands on that limping," and dissolved into profanity. If Hall was ever found, the Nazis would interrogate her using torture and then kill her. In November of 1942, with the Nazis bearing down on her, Hall made a daring escape out of France through the Pyrenees Mountains. The journey was 50 miles long and it took 3 days, but she persevered. She would never give up. She would never take no, and that was what was so extraordinary about her. When the British SOE refused to allow Hall to return to France, she left to work with the American OSS, the precursor of the CIA.
Virginia went in for the SOE for 15 months, and then she was actually with the American OSS for about another year. And just so that you kind of understand that most people who were going in behind enemy lines were going in for a few weeks, maybe a few months, definitely not year plus situation. So the longer she stayed in country, the more dangerous it became for Virginia.
Hall was the first Allied woman to work undercover behind enemy lines during World War II. Her incredible work assisted in clearing the way for Allied troops arriving in France on D-Day. During her time with the resistance in France, Hall fell in love with a man named Paul Gallia, who she later married. She also supervised 27 parachute drops, masterminded baffling jailbreaks, led guerrilla force attacks on German supply lines, created safe houses, built up, armed, and funded the French resistance. And with the 1,500 fighters that she oversaw, Hall killed 170 Nazis and captured another 800. This gallant lady, her SOE commanders concluded, was almost single-handedly changing minds about the role of women in combat. Hall created an opportunity for other female spies during World War II, like Nancy Wake, Andrea Borrell, Lace de Bassac, Odette Sanson, and Mary Herbert. William Donovan, the head of the OSS, presented Hall with the Distinguished Service Cross, the American military's second highest award, for extraordinary heroism in connection with military operations against the enemy. Hall was the first woman to receive this award during World War II. Hall was also given the Croix de Guerre, the highest civilian award in France. In 1946, when President Harry Truman disbanded the OSS and started the CIA, Hall joined, but she was only given a desk job. She worked here until her forced retirement at age 60. After struggling with her health for years, Hall passed away on July 8, 1982, at age 77 in Rockville, Maryland, at the Shady Grove Adventist Hospital. Hall's niece, Laura Catling, was presented with an Order of the British Empire, the highest-ranking military award in the United Kingdom, meant for Hall in 2006. Hall is still influencing women to this day. What an inspiration to women who are looking to fight the good fight and do something good for their country. One woman whom Hall has opened doors for and inspired is Gina Haspel, who became the first female director of the CIA in 2018.
I would not be standing before you today if not for the remarkable courage and dedication displayed by generations of OSS and agency women in roles both large and small, who challenged stereotypes, broke down barriers, and opened doors for the rest of us. I am deeply indebted to them, and I am extremely proud to follow in their footsteps and to carry on their extraordinary legacy.
Despite the hesitancy to put women on the front lines and the cultural stereotypes that say women do not belong in the military and in espionage, Hall broke through the frontier of sexist policies, paving the way for countless women who would follow in her footsteps and work in the military and in espionage. She is remembered as a true trailblazer.